chosen one. There is a moment before every sunrise when heaven leans close to the earth and whispers, "The world may still be sleeping, but your spirit is wide awake." Something deep inside you senses it a stirring, a quiet urgency, a pull that says, something is about to shift. You can't explain it, but you know it. You've walked through long nights where prayer felt like shouting into an empty sky. You've questioned whether heaven could still hear you, but the truth is, heaven never stopped moving, it just moved in silence. While you were waiting for an answer, heaven was preparing a person, someone whose obedience would hold the key to your next chapter. It's like a seed buried in the ground, unseen, yet alive. You've been that seed pressed under the weight of time, surrounded by darkness, unsure if growth was even happening. But heaven has been working beneath the surface, nurturing the unseen until it's ready to break open. There's a story of a young man named Elior. He spent years in obscurity, working faithfully while everyone else seemed to move forward. One evening, while helping a stranger fix a broken wagon, he shared a simple story about faith. That stranger turned out to be the very person God had appointed to open the door Elior had prayed for. It wasn't a coincidence. It was divine choreography. Heaven writes these encounters before time begins. Chosen one. The same orchestration is happening in your life now. Someone has been assigned to your path, not by chance, but by decree. Heaven has placed within them the exact key that matches the lock you've been standing before. You may not recognize them at first. They might come disguised as an interruption, a random message, or even a test of patience. But your spirit will know. Heaven has always worked through people. The divine moves through human hands, through conversations, through connections, through unexpected gestures that shift the atmosphere. And just as someone carries your key, you may also carry someone else's. It is written in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 7. The Lord is good, a stronghold in trouble. He knows those who trust in him. Let that settle in your heart. Heaven knows you. You have not been forgotten. Every tear, every waiting season, every disappointment was accounted for in the design. You have been hidden, not abandoned, protected until the right alignment. Imagine standing in front of a heavy door made of gold and light. You've pushed against it for so long that your hands ache, but it will not open. Then, one day, a person walks up beside you, calm, carrying a key carved from their own obedience. With a simple turn, the door opens. You both stand in awe, realizing that what felt impossible alone was designed to require divine partnership. That is what heaven is setting up now. The person assigned to your breakthrough is moving toward you, guided by unseen hands. You might cross paths tomorrow, or weeks from now. The timing isn't the point, the alignment is. So don't lose heart if you feel like nothing is happening. The silence is simply heaven's signal that movement is taking place in realms you can't yet see. Stay positioned in faith. Keep your heart uncluttered so you'll recognize heaven's touch when it appears. And when that moment comes, when the alignment happens, you'll look back and realize the waiting was holy. Every no, every delay, every quiet night was a sacred thread leading you here. Now, take a breath. If this message feels like it was spoken straight to your soul, don't ignore that stirring. It means heaven is confirming something within you. Tap the heart. Share this message to reach another waiting soul. and comment below. 777. The whisper before dawn means one thing. Morning is almost here. You may not see it yet, but heaven is already in motion. Even now, unseen hands are aligning paths, moving hearts, and preparing divine intersections. The key carrier is on their way. Walking straight into the story, heaven wrote about you long before you were born. Hold your ground, chosen one. Keep your faith anchored, your heart open, and your spirit sensitive. The door you've been praying over is not locked forever. It's simply waiting for the right knock, at the right moment, from the right person. When that door opens, you will understand why the delay was necessary. You'll see that what looked like stillness was strategy, and what felt like silence was heaven whispering. Now, watch what I can do. You have been marked, not by the world, not by pain, not even by circumstance, but by heaven itself. There is a light written into your spirit, a code that cannot be erased. It sets you apart. Quietly, but undeniably, you've always felt it. That subtle difference that makes you walk a little deeper, feel a little stronger, see a little further than most. You were never made to disappear in the crowd. You were made to stand as a sign. Before you took your first breath, your purpose was whispered into existence. Heaven wrote your name into its design. Not as decoration, but as direction. You are a thread in a tapestry that stretches beyond time, and your movements on earth cause ripples in eternity. That's why your journey has felt different. The roads others walk easily seem steeper for you, because what rests on you carries more weight. The mark you bear is unseen by human eyes, but recognized instantly in the spirit. It's the same way a royal seal marks a letter in visible ink to the untrained, but undeniable under divine light. That's why some places have never felt right. No matter how hard you tried to belong, heaven has prevented you from settling in comfort zones meant to delay your destiny. Some people have sensed it. Even if they couldn't name it, they've admired you or misunderstood you, drawn to your light or repelled by it. Don't take it personally. The seal speaks before you do. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in the book of Hosea. Chapter 2, verse 23. I will plant her for myself and show my love to her. I will say, you are my people. End of 4. And they will say, my God. End of 4. This verse is not just poetry, it is identity. Heaven planted you as its own, not misplaced, but positioned. Even when others rejected you, heaven named you again. Where they saw unqualified, God saw assigned. Where they saw too late, God said, right on time. No, think of gold hidden beneath layers of earth. For years, it lies buried, unseen, and unnoticed. But when the miner finally uncovers it, he doesn't complain about the dirt, he celebrates the discovery. You are that gold, the pressure, the obscurity, the misunderstanding. It was never meant to diminish you, it was meant to protect your purity until heaven decided, now they're ready to shine. There was a man named Ardan who carried an unexplainable heaviness his whole life. He tried to fit into normal paths, but they never held him. One night, weary of trying, he sat by the river and whispered, if I am yours, show me why I can't blend in. In the silence that followed, the wind shifted, and for the first time, he felt peace instead of confusion. Later, he said, "That night, I realized I wasn't broken. I was branded. Oh, chosen one. You too have been branded by heaven. Every storm, every closed door, every unanswered question has been shaping the seal within you. It is the reason darkness recognizes your name and trembles. Your uniqueness isn't a mistake, it's a divine strategy. You carry frequencies of heaven that others can't hear. When the one assigned to unlock your next chapter appears, they'll recognize that sound instantly. It will be like two notes of the same song finally meeting harmony, long delayed but never lost. So do not apologize for being different. The mark you carry is proof that heaven invests in you. You are not forgotten, you are reserved. You are not overlooked, you are preserved. You are not waiting, you are being timed. And when heaven says, "Now," every delay will make sense. Every rejection will reveal its purpose. And every scar will shine like a seal of glory. When heaven marks someone, time itself bends to serve the plan. What once felt like detour will reveal itself as direction. Every unanswered prayer has been an invisible thread, weaving you toward divine collision. So, if you find yourself in the in-between, not where you were, not yet where you're meant to be, stay steady. The mark you carry ensures that what's meant for you cannot miss you. It may delay, but it will not deny. The person assigned to unlock your next door is being guided by the same hand that sealed you. Paths are converging, even in the unseen. Trust the alignment, and when the moment arrives, you'll recognize it instantly, not by sight, but by spirit. Heaven's seal always knows its reflection. There are battles no one witnesses, fights fought behind calm eyes and steady smiles. You've walked through them quietly, carrying invisible weight while others only saw your composure. The truth is, heaven has watched every unseen war. Every time you kept walking, when everything in you wanted to quit, the heavens recorded it as victory. Chosen one. You have been in a battlefield disguised as daily life. The heaviness, the tension, the moments you can't explain, all of it is spiritual. You have been confronting forces that don't want to see you advance, but they can't stop what was written before time. You're not under attack because you're weak. You're under attack because you're marked. Sometimes you've asked, why do I feel like I'm constantly fighting just to stay standing? The answer, because your spirit is too valuable to go unchallenged. The pressure around you is not random, it's targeted. The greater your calling, the greater the collision, according to what is revealed in the book of James. Chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. Heaven calls you blessed not when life is easy, but when you refuse to break under pressure. The pain you're enduring isn't proof of absence, it's proof of refinement. Fire doesn't destroy gold, it defines it. You are being defined right now. There's a man named Leor whose story echoes yours. Every plan he made seemed to collapse just when success was near. He thought he was cursed, forgotten, invisible. But one night, while praying in frustration, he heard in his spirit, "You're not being buried, you're being built." Those words changed everything. His failures didn't disappear overnight, but his faith deepened. The moment he stopped seeing battles as punishment and started seeing them as preparation, strength rose inside him like fire. That's what heaven wants you to understand. The fight is not about survival. It's about shaping you into someone who carries authority. Every time you overcome darkness in silence, you gain spiritual ground. The authority you carry now didn't come cheap. It was forged through tears, through waiting, through choosing light again and again. Think of a lighthouse standing in a storm. Waves crash. Wind screams. Yet the light never flickers. That's you. You may shake, but you shine. You've faced winds meant to extinguish you, and still your light stands tall. The storm cannot drown what heaven itself has ignited. In your private battles, angels have stood guard. Every whispered prayer, every moment you said, "I still believe," when you saw no evidence, those were recorded in eternity. Heaven has not forgotten a single one. The same God who watched you crawl through the valley is preparing to let you run on the mountaintop. Now, let this sink in. Your warfare is not wasted. It's your anointing in disguise. The enemy wouldn't target what isn't dangerous. And you, chosen one, are dangerous to darkness. Take a breath. If these words feel like they were aimed straight at the war inside your chest, that's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Heaven is reminding you, you're still in the fight for a reason. Type, battle ready. Lam. Do it as a quiet declaration of faith. You're not just writing words, you're announcing to heaven and to hell alike. I know who I am. I know whose I am. And I am not backing down. It's a statement that shifts the atmosphere. A signal to the unseen that you recognize your authority. You may not see the victory yet, but it's already unfolding. Every spiritual scar you carry is proof that you have survived everything designed to destroy you. And what survives the fire comes out shining. When you write "battle ready," you're not simply typing two words. You are aligning your spirit with heaven's command. You are saying, "I will not retreat. I will not surrender. I understand. This battle is shaping me." That declaration is an act of spiritual agreement. It tells the unseen realm that your armor is fastened, your heart is steady, and your faith is alive. It means you refuse to let fear dictate your future. Every wound becomes wisdom. Every scar becomes strategy. You acknowledge that your strength doesn't come from comfort, but from the one who called you. Battle ready isn't about being fearless. It's about being faithful even when afraid. And when you say it, heaven takes note. Angels respond to conviction. The same storms that once shook you will now serve you. You're not just surviving anymore, you're commanding the battlefield. There are no coincidences in the kingdom. Every encounter, every interruption, every unexpected moment carries potential. Heaven has a way of wrapping divine purpose in ordinary faces. The one assigned to your life may not arrive with glowing light or angelic music. They might show up tired, flawed, even unsure of themselves. But your spirit will recognize something deeper: familiarity from before time. God often hides divine appointments behind simple interactions. The stranger you help, the conversation you almost skip, the meeting you didn't plan. These moments are the soil where heaven plants miracles. The person sent to unlock your breakthrough may appear at the most inconvenient time, testing whether your heart can recognize destiny disguised as interruption. There's a story told about a man named Jaron. He worked long hours in silence. carrying dreams that felt too heavy for his small life. One afternoon, his car broke down on an empty road. Frustrated, he kicked the tire and muttered a prayer under his breath. Within minutes, a traveler pulled over to help. As they talked, Jaron mentioned an idea he'd buried years ago. The traveler paused and said, "I've been looking for someone with exactly that vision." That encounter changed Jaron's path forever. What felt like breakdown was actually breakthrough, delivered through a stranger's obedience. Heaven often works this way. One person's inconvenience becomes another's divine invitation. The person assigned to you may already be on their journey, guided by whispers they don't yet understand. Maybe they've been feeling drawn to make a change, to reach out, to travel somewhere unexpected. They won't realize it's you they're being sent to until the moment arrives. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 21. "Your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.' When you turn to the right, or when you turn to the left." This is how divine connections unfold, not through noise, but through inner direction. Heaven rarely announces its moves with fanfare. It leads gently, like wind guiding a ship. And when two paths meant to cross finally meet, time seems to pause. It feels like recognition, not introduction. Chosen one. Understand this. Destiny often wears the face of the ordinary. You might meet your key holder at a coffee shop, a random gathering, or through a passing conversation. What unlocks your next level won't always be dramatic. It will feel right. There will be peace. Even if the moment feels small, heaven's partnerships are built on timing and trust. Your role is not to chase connection, but to stay aligned, so you'll notice divine movement when it happens. The more sensitive your spirit becomes, the easier it is to recognize heaven's fingerprints on people and moments. Sometimes the person sent to you isn't meant to stay forever. Some are carriers, people who appear just long enough to unlock something in you before they move on. Others are builders, those who walk with you through the process. Both are essential. Don't cling to what was meant to pass. Don't dismiss what was meant to remain. Discernment will tell the difference. Think of a key turning in a lock. It doesn't have to be large or loud. It simply fits. That's how divine helpers operate. They fit into the spaces of your life that felt stuck, bringing clarity, opportunity, or encouragement. Their presence feels like alignment, not intrusion. And remember, you may also be that key for someone else. The same way heaven assigns people to your journey, it sends you into others' stories. Your words, your resilience, your kindness may be the very door someone else has been praying to find. That's the beauty of divine design. It weaves destinies together so no one walks alone. So, remain open. Don't dismiss what seems small. And don't underestimate Keat encounters. The extraordinary often hides inside the mundane. Every day, heaven arranges intersections where obedience meets opportunity. When that appointed person arrives, you'll know. There will be a calm in your spirit and a subtle knowing that this connection was not random. That's the moment destiny clicks into place, the sacred intersection where preparation meets prophecy. When that moment comes, don't rush it. Let it unfold naturally, like sunrise breaking through mist. Divine timing doesn't demand attention. It reveals itself with quiet certainty. The person assigned to you will not need to prove their purpose. Their presence will speak louder than words. Something within you will recognize peace, not performance. And as paths align, gratitude will rise, because you'll finally see that every delay, every detour, every closed door was guiding you here, to this very meeting written by heaven long ago. When heaven moves, it often sends signs long before the door opens. These signs are gentle like ripples before a tide, or the scent of rain before the storm breaks. Sometimes they come as a restlessness in your spirit. Sometimes it's a phrase that won't leave your mind. These are not coincidences. They are divine signals that your breakthrough is drawing near. Every chosen one learns this language of the unseen. Heaven does not always speak with thunder. It often whispers through alignment. You begin to notice moments that feel too precise to be random. A conversation confirms what you prayed about in secret. A message arrives exactly when you needed strength. That's heaven's rhythm. Subtle, yet sovereign. There's a story of a woman named Lena who began noticing patterns, numbers, repeating, dreams resurfacing, people appearing with similar words. At first, she brushed it off as coincidence. But one night, while sitting in silence, she felt peace descend like soft rain. She realized heaven had been speaking all along. She just hadn't been still enough to listen. From that day, she walked lighter, listening between the moments. Soon, she met the person who shifted everything. The signs were never random. They were preparation. Heaven always sends signs before it sends people. Once you learn to recognize them, you stop forcing and start flowing. You no longer chase what's meant to find you. You align with it. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 14, "For those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God." End of you, chosen one, are being led. Every impression, every nudge in your heart is heaven's gentle compass. And as you receive these words, if peace begins to bloom in you, let that peace guide your response, not just in belief, but in participation. When you choose to like or share this message, you are not feeding an algorithm. You are sending a spark into the wind, one that may drift toward a soul standing in darkness tonight. If you subscribe, it's like returning to a well that never runs dry. Each new message becomes another drink of clarity for the days ahead. You are choosing to stay connected to the river where heaven keeps pouring revelation. And for those who feel deeply stirred, you may sense heaven nudging you to donate, not as obligation, but as overflow. Think of it as adding oil to a traveling lantern. The flame already burns, but your oil allows it to cross oceans, lighting paths for people you'll never meet, but whose hope depends on that glow. There is no pressure here, no demand, only invitation. To give is to agree with heaven that this light must keep moving. Some will pour a little, some will pour much, but every drop fuels the same fire. Even if all you can offer now is presence, it still matters. Your simple act of liking, sharing, or commenting becomes wind beneath a torch, helping it rise higher, travel farther, and reach hearts still waiting to feel seen. Heaven counts every movement of sincerity as worship. Imagine this work as a river of light winding through the world. Every time you give, you are adding another stream. Every time you share, you widen the current. Every time you subscribe, you return to its source. You become part of the current itself, alive, flowing, unstoppable. So, thank you for listening, for caring, for keeping this light alive. The words may end here, but their echo continues, wherever your kindness flows, and through you, heaven's message will keep finding those who need it most. Every ripple of generosity carries its own prophecy. What you release from your hand never disappears. It travels through unseen channels, returning as peace, provision, or purpose when you least expect it. Heaven always multiplies what is given with sincerity. When you keep this light moving, you are joining a quiet army of torchbearers across the earth. Each act of kindness, each gesture of faith, becomes another spark in the great constellation of divine hope. Think of it this way: a single candle can light 1,000 more without losing its own flame. Your share, your prayer, your donation, they are candles in motion, spreading warmth where cold hearts once shivered. And one day, when your own night feels long, that same light you helped send will return to you, glowing softly, reminding you that heaven never forgets those who helped its message travel farther. Because in the kingdom, nothing given in love is ever lost. Every act, no matter how small, becomes part of the endless story of light, overcoming the dark. Every door in heaven's design opens through obedience, not opportunity. The world teaches you to chase what shines, to run toward what looks successful. But heaven measures not what you grab, but what you surrender. There are moments when God asks you to pause, when everything inside you wants to move. Those moments define destiny. Obedience is the invisible bridge between promise and fulfillment. It's the act of saying yes when nothing makes sense, of trusting the whisper more than the crowd. Many miss their appointed doors, not because they lacked faith, but because they moved ahead of timing. The chosen learn that waiting is not weakness, it's warfare done in stillness. There's a man named Caleb who dreamed of starting something great. He had resources, connections, and passion. But every time he pushed forward, doors closed. One night, exhausted and angry, he prayed, "If this isn't your path, take the desire away." What came next wasn't frustration, it was peace. Months later, Amintorapir, carrying a new vision, one that would reach further than Caleb ever imagined. Had he forced his own plan, he would have missed heaven's better one, chosen one. Obedience often feels like silence, but it's actually strategy. Heaven delays to protect. What looks like a no might actually be a divine "not yet." When you learn to obey without full understanding, heaven can trust you with greater revelation. According to what is revealed in the first book of Samuel, chapter 15, verse 22, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. Oh, this verse cuts through the noise of religion and performance. Heaven doesn't need impressive rituals, it desires responsive hearts. The obedience of one willing soul can move more in the spirit than the effort of 1,000 striving minds. Obedience is the currency of breakthrough. When you obey the nudge to forgive, you free your own heart. When you obey the whisper to give, you break the grip of scarcity. When you obey the call to let go, you make room for new blessings to land. Every yes builds momentum in the unseen. Think of the ocean tide, it moves in rhythm, not in haste. If it rushed too soon, the balance would break. But in its patient flow, it carries life to every shore. That's what obedience does. It doesn't rush, it aligns. It moves at heaven's rhythm. bringing purpose to the surface in perfect timing. You may not see results right away. Sometimes obedience is simply staying planted. Other times it's walking away. The point is not movement, it's alignment. You are learning to walk in tune with heaven's heartbeat, to act not out of fear or pressure, but out of divine prompting. There's a quiet power in choosing obedience when no one is watching. Heaven often tests you in hidden rooms before displaying you in public spaces. The secret yeses you give in silence echo louder in eternity than any public achievement. Maybe right now you're standing before a door that looks good but feels wrong. Listen to that unease. It's not fear, it's discernment. Heaven is not withholding from you, it's redirecting you. The same obedience that seems costly today will become clarity tomorrow. You're being trained to move differently, not by sight, but by spirit. That's how chosen ones navigate their journey, not chasing opportunity, but following obedience until opportunity follows them. If this word finds you at a crossroads, breathe. Don't rush. The next instruction will come when you're ready to hear, not when you're desperate to act. Heaven never misplaces those who wait in faith. Now pause for a moment. If this message mirrors what you're living right now, if you feel that gentle conviction stirring inside, respond not with words, but with agreement. Type 555 inches, the comments. It isn't superstition, it's symbolism. 5 cents, 55 represents divine alignment, grace upon grace. Change, guided by heaven. By writing it, you're saying, I choose obedience over opportunity. I choose timing over haste. It's your quiet yes to heaven's direction. Remember, the greatest miracles in Scripture happened when ordinary people said simple yeses. One act of obedience turned fishermen into apostles, water into wine, slaves into leaders. You carry that same potential. Heaven still moves through willing hearts. So stand firm, listen deeply, and walk softly. The next door won't open through striving, it will open through surrender. When you type 555, see it as more than numbers. It's a prophetic gesture. The first 5 speaks of grace that carried you through. The second marks grace for change. The third releases grace for divine completion. Together, they declare, your obedience is unlocking heaven's perfect timing. There is a weight that comes with waiting, a kind of silence that presses on the soul, testing not your strength, but your trust. Every chosen one walks through this valley at some point. The promise is spoken, the vision revealed. Yet time stretches endlessly between revelation and reality. It feels like heaven has gone quiet, like your prayers have vanished into the wind. But waiting is not wasted. It is sacred ground where faith matures and sight is sharpened. You see, there's a difference between delay and denial. Delay is heaven's classroom. It's where your roots grow deep enough to carry the fruit that's coming. What you learn in stillness becomes the foundation for what you'll build in movement. The pause isn't punishment, it's preparation. Think of a seed buried in the soil. For a long time, there's nothing visible. Days pass, then weeks. The surface remains unchanged. But beneath the earth, life is unfolding. Roots are spreading quietly, unseen, anchoring what will later rise. That's you in this season. You may not see evidence yet, but something alive is forming in the dark. The prophet wrote in the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 26, "It is good that one should hope and wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. And this verse carries truth like gentle fire. To wait quietly does not mean to sit idle. It means to stay steady in spirit, to believe even when nothing changes outwardly. It's the kind of patience that turns despair into devotion. There's a woman named Adira who once told her story of waiting. She had prayed for years for restoration in her family, but nothing shifted. The silence nearly broke her. One day, while journaling her frustration, she wrote, "Maybe waiting is the only place I still meet you." That realization changed everything. She stopped treating waiting as a hallway and started treating it as a sanctuary. Months later, what she'd prayed for came suddenly, but she was different. Her heart had learned peace that couldn't be shaken again. Chosen one. Waiting doesn't weaken you. It reveals you. It exposes what you truly believe. When you can trust God without updates, when you can worship without answers, you step into mature faith. This is the kind of faith that doesn't depend on outcomes, only on presence. Heaven uses delay to train your discernment. Sometimes the blessing is ready, but the receiver isn't. If you received everything too soon, the weight of it might crush you. The pause is protection. God is ensuring that when you walk into your promise, you'll be ready to stay there. Think of an archer drawing back a bow. The farther the arrow is pulled backward, the greater the distance it will fly. The tension isn't setback, it's propulsion. Every moment you feel stretched is heaven loading your potential for release. In the waiting, you learn rhythms that can't be taught in ease. You discover stillness as strength, silence as guidance, surrender as power. The slower the season, the deeper the shaping. Heaven works in slow miracles, the kind that take time but last forever. And though it feels lonely, you are never unseen. Angels stand watch even in silence. Every tear you've shed in private is recorded. Every sigh is heard. Waiting rooms are not empty. They're filled with preparation. Heaven is rearranging details you can't yet see. At times, impatience will whisper, "Move." Fear will echo, "It's too late." But the Spirit will remind you, "Stay." Trust that voice. It's keeping you aligned with timing. The door you're meant to enter will not require you to force it. It will open in peace. One day, you'll look back and realize that the waiting was the most important part of your story. It taught you how to listen, how to rest, how to recognize the sound of heaven's steps approaching. When the promise finally arrives, you'll carry quiet confidence instead of desperation. You'll understand that waiting wasn't just about receiving something, it was about becoming someone. Someone grounded, discerning, and unshakably secure in the rhythm of grace. So, if the silence lingers, let it teach you. Breathe through the tension. Let patience do her perfect work. For even now, beneath the surface of stillness, heaven is building the miracle you prayed for. And when the appointed moment comes, it will not arrive with noise, but with knowing. Your heart will recognize it instantly, the stillness will break, and fulfillment will bloom quietly. Then you'll whisper to yourself, "Now I understand why I had to wait." Every moment of silence will suddenly make perfect sense. Not every open door is divine. Some shimmer with opportunity, but conceal traps of distraction. The enemy has mastered the art of imitation, offering counterfeits that resemble blessings but lead to bondage. Chosen one. Discernment becomes your shield. In this hour, you are stepping into a season where not every connection, not every offer, not every voice deserves your trust. There is beauty in learning to pause before you commit. Just because something feels urgent doesn't mean it's right. Heaven's invitations come with peace. The enemy's offers come with pressure. The counterfeit always demands haste, because it fears what discernment will reveal if you learn to wait, to test, to listen. Deception loses its grip. The Word of God declares in the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 15, "The simple believe anything, but the prudent give thought to their steps." Oh, this wisdom is timeless. It reminds you that not every light is meant to guide, some are meant to blind. The counterfeit connection often flatters first and drains later. It arrives in moments of weakness, promising relief but demanding compromise. The enemy never creates, he imitates. And his imitations are crafted to appeal to your desires before they trap your destiny. You may have already encountered this, an offer that looked right but felt wrong. A person who spoke the language of faith but carried the scent of manipulation. That inner hesitation you felt was not paranoia, it was protection. Heaven placed an alarm in your spirit that sounds whenever danger disguises itself as opportunity. There's a story about a young leader named Neria. She longed to grow her ministry. And one day, a wealthy sponsor appeared, offering everything. She had prayed for: resources, influence, open doors. Yet something inside her felt unsettled. The offer came with small conditions: soften your message, avoid certain truths, appeal to comfort more than conviction. It seemed minor, but she knew compromise rarely comes. All at once it arrives in whispers. She walked away, even when it cost her support. Months later, that sponsor was exposed for deceiving others. Her refusal became her preservation. Discernment often looks like loss in the moment. You may feel foolish for saying no when everyone else says yes. But heaven celebrates quiet refusals that protect holy purposes. You are not missing out, you are being guarded. Think of discernment as spiritual sight. Where others see gold, you see glitter and know the difference. Where others hear charm, you listen for truth beneath tone. You learn to read the unseen, to perceive motives hidden behind words. This is how chosen ones walk safely through deceptive terrain. The enemy doesn't always come roaring, he often comes smiling. His goal is not to scare you, it's to lure you into settling for less than your divine measure. He offers imitation partnerships. Imitation, peace. Imitation, success. But when your ear is tuned to heaven's frequency, you can sense when something is off, even if it looks perfect. The Spirit will never rush you into what's meant to last. Divine timing carries calm assurance. You'll find that when something is truly from heaven, it won't require you to compromise your character to keep it. Real blessing expands your soul, not your anxiety. There's also another kind of counterfeit, internal deception. It's when impatience tries to dress up as faith. You start convincing yourself that moving ahead is stepping out in courage, when in truth, it's stepping away from peace. The heart can disguise its own motives, which is why staying close to the voice of God matters more than any open door. You are being trained to test the spirit behind every opportunity. Ask yourself, does this align with the peace of heaven? Does it lead me closer to truth or closer to pride? Does it require surrender or manipulation? The answers reveal the source. Even relationships can carry this test. Some people come into your life carrying divine keys, while others carry distractions disguised as comfort. The enemy knows you crave connection, so he sends imitation, helpers, people who drain your focus or delay your calling. Recognize them by their fruit, not their charm. The prophet Amos once wrote that a plumb line was placed in Israel's midst, a tool to measure straightness. That's what discernment is for you now. It measures alignment. It keeps your purpose upright when every wind of influence tries to sway you. And when in doubt, remember, true peace never needs to be persuaded. If you must talk yourself into something, it's not heaven. Divine things unfold smoothly. Counterfeit things require constant convincing. So move slowly, listen deeply, and trust that silence is safer than rushing into the wrong door. Heaven's yes will always come with clarity, never confusion. Let discernment be your guardrail as you walk forward. For what's ahead of you is too sacred to risk on imitation. Sometimes what looks like delay is actually divine choreography. Heaven is never late. It simply moves at the speed of purpose. The moments that feel like detours are often the bridges connecting you to miracles you couldn't have planned yourself. You've been wondering why progress feels slow, why doors close right after hope opens. But what if those closed doors are redirections, not rejections? Chosen one. Heaven is weaving threads you cannot yet see. The pattern only makes sense when viewed from above. What feels like stillness is synchronization. While you've been asking, when? Heaven has been answering, wait, I'm aligning. There's a rhythm in divine timing, one that requires trust more than understanding. Each setback is secretly positioning you closer to what's meant to last. The story of your life is not running off course. It's unfolding in precision. The Apostle wrote in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who are called according to His purpose." Notice it says all things, not some. Not only the pleasant, but every piece. Even the painful ones, the breakup, the disappointment, the delay, each is a tool in the hand of grace. Heaven uses what hurt you to build what will heal you. There's a man named Royal whose journey reflects this truth. He lost his job suddenly, the very one he believed was part of his calling. For months, he felt abandoned. But while he waited, he started helping at a community shelter, just to stay active. There, he met a man who introduced him to a project that later became his life's purpose. What he thought was a detour was actually direction in disguise. Heaven never wastes motion. You are in that kind of divine setup now. The slow steps, the confusing reroutes, the disappointments, they're all part of a choreography too precise for your present sight. Heaven is repositioning you for encounters that require perfect timing. If anything had happened earlier, it would have been too soon. Imagine a potter shaping clay. Every press, every spin feels repetitive. But it's not. Each motion adds strength and form. The potter doesn't rush, because rushing cracks the vessel. That's why heaven takes its time with you. It's not delay, it's design. Chosen one. The place you're standing in right now might feel ordinary, but it's holy ground. This is the middle, the space between prayer and promise, between pain and purpose. Here, heaven is preparing both you and what's coming for you. And one day soon, everything will click. What once broke you will make sense. The people who left, the moments that hurt, the plans that failed, you'll see how each one shaped you into the person ready for the next chapter. But for now, rest in the rhythm. Don't force the timing. Don't doubt the silence. Heaven doesn't forget appointments. When the alignment is complete, movement will come suddenly, beautifully, undeniably. Take a quiet moment right now. Feel the tension loosening in your spirit. The waiting has not been wasted. It's been the making. You are being set up for a release that will rewrite your story. If this message feels like it mirrors your own timeline, right on time. It's a declaration of trust, a way of saying, I choose to believe the delay is divine. Those 3 words may look simple on the screen, but in the spirit, they roar with faith. They tell heaven, you're aligned, ready, and willing to move at God's pace, not your own, because in truth, you've never been behind. Every moment has been preparation. The choreography of grace never misses a beat. It only waits until the music is ready for your entrance. When you write, right on time, you're not just commenting, you're confessing alignment. You're saying, even if I don't see it, I trust it. That phrase becomes a banner over your waiting, declaring that your story is still unfolding exactly as heaven intended. Each word carries spiritual weight. Right means aligned, not perfect. On means positioned, not delayed. Time means heaven's timing, not your own. Together, they announce, I am synchronized with destiny. End quote. When you type it, you're stepping into agreement with the divine rhythm over your life. Heaven reads your surrender as readiness. Angels move when faith moves. And faith moves through words spoken in trust. So write it, believe it, breathe it, right on time. Let those words echo in your spirit as a melody of patience and purpose. The same timing that delayed your breakthrough is the timing that will deliver it perfectly. There comes a moment when everything you've waited for begins to shift quietly, naturally, like the tide returning to the shore after a long night. The person heaven assigned finally steps into your path, and destiny greets you not with thunder, but with recognition. It's not dramatic, it's divine. You sense peace settle over you, the kind that doesn't need proof to feel real. This is the beauty of divine alignment. It never needs to announce itself. It simply fits. 2 stories written separately finally meet in one sentence, authored by heaven. You'll look at this person and somehow know you were part of the plan all along. Oh, heaven's timing is never accidental. It brings people together not because of coincidence, but because of calling. The right person doesn't complete you, they complement your purpose. When the one assigned to unlock your next door appears, it will feel less like a rival and more like remembering something your soul already knew. There's a story of a man named Ezra. He spent years trying to build his dream alone. Each attempt crumbled, leaving him weary. Then one day, during what he thought was an ordinary conversation, he met someone whose vision mirrored his own. They finished each other's sentences, shared the same burdens, the same faith. That partnership became the key that opened everything. Ezra later said, "It was like heaven shook my hand through theirs." And when divine connections happen, they rarely come with fanfare. They come wrapped in peace and timing. That's how you'll know it's heaven, because your spirit rests instead of wrestles. It is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 7. Each of you should give what you've decided in heart, not reluctantly or compelled, for God loves a cheerful giver. The beauty of this verse is how it mirrors divine partnership. God's work always flows through willing hearts, people who give not from pressure, but from joy. That's how heaven funds miracles, through generosity born of peace. And as you take in this truth, pause, reflect, feel the warmth of realization spreading through your heart. If these messages have walked beside you through your own waiting, if they've spoken peace into your midnights, then you already understand the power of shared light. This voice, this message, this flow, it's more than words. It's a movement of healing carried through faith. When you choose to like or share this message, you are holding up a mirror that catches light and reflects it into someone else's darkness. Somewhere out there, another soul is standing where you once stood, tired, unsure, hoping for a sign. Your small act might be the spark that helps them believe again. When you subscribe, it's like planting a seed in the soil of your spirit. Each new word that arrives is a drop of water, nurturing what heaven has already started in you. You stay connected to a stream that refreshes without demanding. And if your heart feels led to give, consider it not a transaction, but a ripple in the river of hope. Donations are like pebbles tossed into still water. The circle of impact grows wider and wider. What you release never disappears. It travels, touches, and returns multiplied. There is no obligation here. Giving is a form of worship, not requirement, whether through resources, prayer, or simply presence. You become part of something sacred, the spreading of light without walls or borders. Picture it this way: this message is a lantern, and every act of support adds oil to its flame. One like, one share, one contribution. It all helps the glow reach further across valleys of doubt and silence. Through your hands, the fire keeps traveling. And maybe one day, when you least expect it, the very light you helped sustain will find you again. It will return as comfort when you need it, as peace when you're weary, as provision when you've given all. That is how heaven multiplies kindness quietly, faithfully, beautifully. So if this message has strengthened you, take a moment. Light your part of the flame, like, share, subscribe, or give as your heart leads, not to repay, but to participate, not to earn, but to extend. Because this isn't about charity, it's about continuity, the flow of divine words reaching farther through willing hearts. You are not just a listener, you're part of a movement. Together, we're building a network of light, one word, one act, one soul at a time. And somewhere, even now, another life is about to shift because you chose to keep the flame alive. There are moments when heaven invites you to break what has held you captive for too long, not by force, but by revelation, the seal of limitation. That invisible barrier between where you are and where you're meant to be begins to tremble when you finally understand who walks with you. Every chosen one reaches this moment, the point when faith must move from belief to action. For years, you have carried invisible chains, fear, doubt, memories of failure, or voices that told you what could not be done. These chains don't just hold your hands, they wrap around your mind. They whisper. You've tried before, and nothing changed. But heaven has a way of revisiting the same places where you once failed, this time with new power. The book of Joshua tells how the Israelites faced the Jordan River, wide and impassable, standing between them and promise. Yet when the priests carrying the ark stepped into the water, something miraculous happened. The river stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap, leaving dry ground where chaos had once been. What was impossible yesterday yielded to obedience today. It was proclaimed in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And that command wasn't just for Joshua, it's for you now. Strength and courage aren't emotions, they're decisions. You choose them before you feel them. Heaven moves through conviction, not comfort. There's a story of a woman named Sarah. For years, she believed she'd never rise above the mistakes of her past. Shame became her prison, keeping her small. One night, while praying, she saw an image in her heart, a massive gate sealed shut. Then a voice whispered, "This isn't locked. It's waiting for you to push." She realized she had been standing before an unlocked gate all along. The next morning, she applied for a position she once felt unqualified for. Within weeks, doors opened she never thought possible. Her life shifted the moment she acted in faith instead of fear. That's how the seal of limitation breaks, not through shouting or striving, but through movement born of belief. Heaven doesn't require perfect strength, it asks for willing steps. Once you act, even trembling, grace meets your motion. Every time you've said, "I can't," heaven whispered back, "You can, through me." Every moment you thought was too late, heaven was simply saying, "I'm not finished yet." Breaking limitation begins in the mind. The real prison isn't the circumstance, it's the thought that says, "This will never change." The enemy knows if he can keep your vision small. He doesn't have to cage your body, he's already caged your belief. That's why heaven sends revelation before restoration. Light must enter before chains can fall. Think of an eagle born in captivity. Even when the cage door opens, it hesitates to fly. Freedom requires remembering what wings were made for. That's you, chosen one. Heaven has already unlocked the door. It's time to spread your wings again. You may still feel resistance. That's normal. The breaking point always feels hardest, right before the shift. Just as a seed must split to release life, your old patterns are cracking, so new potential can emerge. What looks like breaking is actually birthing. The person heaven assigned to walk with you, your divine connection, will often play a part in this unlocking. Sometimes they bring a word, a confirmation, or even a challenge that awakens courage you didn't know you had. They are not the source of your freedom, but they carry keys that fit the locks you've ignored. When you join faith with obedience, the seal cannot hold. Do not be surprised if the old limitations try to whisper again after the breakthrough. That's what old cages do, they call you back to comfort. But you are no longer a prisoner. You've crossed the Jordan. What once defined your ceiling has now become your floor. This new ground requires boldness. Heaven is expanding your territory. But expansion always demands adjustment. You'll walk in spaces that once intimidated you. Speak where you used to stay silent. Lead where you once followed. The difference isn't arrogance, it's awareness. You finally know whose presence walks beside you. So, stand firm. The seal has been broken. The waters have parted. What was impossible yesterday is accessible today. The limits were never walls, they were invitations to witness God's power. And as you move forward, remember Sarah. Remember Joshua. Remember every moment you almost gave up and didn't. Those memories are proof that your breaking point was actually your breakthrough point. You are walking on dry ground now, firm, steady, and destined for more. There are moments when heaven orchestrates an exchange not of goods, but of glory. Something sacred happens when obedience meets divine timing. Words once spoken in faith begin to take form. Doors open not because you forced them, but because heaven declared. Now, this is the prophetic exchange, the moment when what was promised in secret begins to manifest in sight. You've walked through waiting, warfare, and refinement. You've faced counterfeit offers and hidden battles. But now, chosen one, you stand at the edge of fulfillment. Heaven is not only releasing breakthrough to you, it's releasing authority through you. What you receive in this season will not stop with you, it will overflow into others. There's a passage recorded in the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than the former, says the Lord of hosts, and in this place I will give peace. That verse carries a promise beyond circumstance. It speaks of transformation. It means what's coming will surpass what was lost. The new season won't simply restore what was taken, it will multiply it. The pain of the last chapter becomes the oil for the next. Think of a cup being poured out and refilled. When heaven refills, it never stops at the brim, it overflows. You are being filled now, not for comfort, but for purpose. The prophetic exchange means heaven is transferring new grace, new wisdom, and new strength into you for the road ahead. There was once a man named Eliav who spent years mentoring others while his own life seemed stagnant. He kept serving faithfully, speaking encouragement he barely felt himself. Then one morning, while praying, he felt an impression in his spirit. You have been pouring. Now it is your turn to receive. Days later, unexpected opportunities and resources began to find him. What he had released in faith returned, multiplied. Heaven had been keeping a record of every unseen seed. That's what's happening to you. Every prayer you prayed when no one saw, every word of kindness you gave without reward, every act of obedience when it cost you, none of it was lost. Heaven keeps detailed accounts. Now, the divine exchange begins. You are entering a season of harvest that mirrors your hidden faithfulness. But here's the mystery. The exchange is not just about receiving blessings, it's about stepping into spiritual authority. Heaven doesn't only want to bless you, it wants to trust you. This is why the process was long. Authority must be carried by those who have been refined. You can't pour oil into cracked vessels, they must first be mended. That's what waiting did, it healed the fractures. When this exchange happens, things will accelerate quickly. What once resisted you will now respond to you. Where doors once closed, they'll open without knocking. It will not be coincidence, it will be confirmation. Heaven will use your life as living evidence that obedience was never wasted. The transfer might not come as you expect. It may come as new peace, restored relationships, unexpected favor, or spiritual clarity. Whatever form it takes, It will carry the unmistakable fragrance of divine origin. You'll know it was never your doing. And this moment, right here, is an invitation to agree with heaven. You've walked faithfully to the threshold. Now, your declaration seals it. Type 888 in the comments. It's not a ritual, it's a symbol. 888 represents new beginnings, infused with divine eternity. It means the end of old cycles and the rise of something infinite, something God sustained. By writing it, you're saying, I receive the exchange. I accept the overflow. I agree with the timing of heaven. Unquote. When you type those numbers, heaven reads your faith louder than words. Angels move where surrender is visible. It's not magic, it's meaning. You're participating in a prophetic act, a reflection of alignment between your spirit and heaven's will. So, breathe it in. The air has changed. The waiting is over. The exchange has begun. What was once promised is now being delivered, not late, but right on time. Heaven is releasing through you what it once promised to you. And from this moment forward, you will no longer just receive light, you will carry it. The prophetic exchange has made you both vessel and voice. A living testimony that the latter glory truly surpasses the former. When you write 888, imagine it as a door of light opening before you. Each 8 folds into the next, endlessness, meeting newness. Divine timing, meeting human faith. It is heaven's number for fresh cycles, blessed by eternal grace. You are stepping into a rhythm that doesn't end. The same grace that begins this season will sustain it. The exchange is complete. And it begins now. There is a sacred moment in every chosen one's journey when they shift from being receivers to becoming releasers. It is the moment you realize the light that once rescued you is now shining through you. You are no longer only the one being helped. You have become heaven's instrument to unlock others. That is the mantle of multiplication. Heaven never pours into you just to fill you. It pours to overflow. The blessings, the revelations, the strength you've gained through waiting and warfare, they were never meant to stay contained. You are a living conduit of divine flow. What once felt like pain now becomes compassion. What once broke you now equips you to rebuild others. The prophet Elisha once followed Elijah for years, learning, serving, observing. He watched miracles, carried burdens, and endured seasons of obscurity. But when Elijah's time came to ascend, the mantle fell from his hands. That moment marked transfer, a divine passing of assignment. Elisha tore his own cloak in half and took up the fallen mantle. What he received was not just power, it was responsibility. It is written in the second book of Kings, chapter 2, verses 13 and 14. He picked up the cloak that had fallen from Elijah and went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. He took the cloak that had fallen from Elijah and struck the water with it. Where now is the Lord, the God of Elijah? He asked. When he struck the water, it divided to the right and to the left. And he crossed over. That moment of division wasn't just a miracle of nature, it was a declaration of inheritance. Elisha's faith activated what his mentor's mantle carried. He didn't need Elijah to return. He needed to believe that what rested on Elijah now rested on him. Chosen one. This is the hour when heaven asks you to pick up what's been placed before you. The mantle you've admired in others is now being handed to you. It might come in the form of new responsibility, unexpected leadership, or the quiet call to guide someone who mirrors your younger self. You'll feel it as a stirring inside, an awareness that you can no longer stay silent, that you are meant to pour out what was once poured into you. Carrying the mantle doesn't mean perfection, it means partnership. Heaven trusts you now because you've learned to yield. You know the cost of calling. You've felt the weight of surrender. That humility is what makes you safe for greater influence. There's a story of a man named Amiel who spent years overcoming addiction and shame. When he finally walked in freedom, he wanted to hide from his past. But one night, while sharing his testimony with a struggling friend, he saw that same spark of hope he once needed. From that moment, he couldn't stop speaking. People began to gather not around his story, but around the transformation within it. Heaven used his scars as blueprints for other people's healing. That is the essence of the mantle. What once hurt you now helps others. This divine multiplication is not about status or fame. It's about stewardship. Every lesson you've learned, every prayer that strengthened you, every tear that purified you, all of it becomes seed. When you speak encouragement, you sow faith. When you show compassion, you plant healing. When you forgive, you release others into freedom. The mantle turns pain into power, struggle into strategy, and survival into service. It transforms your private story into public light. The very places where darkness once lived in you now become beacons for others to find their way. Sometimes you will release this light quietly in conversations, in prayer, in simple acts of kindness. Other times, it will burst forth through your creativity, leadership, or vision. But in every case, the source is the same, heaven flowing through you. Do not underestimate your influence just because it feels small. The greatest revivals begin with one whisper, one act, one person who decides to live as a carrier of divine presence. You have become that person. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your authenticity, the evidence that God restores what the world discards. So carry your mantle boldly. Walk as one who remembers what it cost to hold it. Speak with authority born of experience. Every time you lift another, heaven multiplies your impact. And when doubt tries to whisper, "Who am I to lead?" remember this truth. You were chosen not because you were flawless, but because you were faithful. Heaven crowns obedience, not performance. You are the evidence that grace works. You are living proof that miracles still walk in human skin. This is your mantle, your ministry, your message, your multiplication. And as you carry it forward, others will rise because you chose to rise first. After every victory comes a storm. It's not punishment, it's proof. The moment you ascend, the winds begin to test what was built in you during the valley. Every chosen one must learn how to guard new ground. The battles after blessing are different. They don't aim to destroy you, they aim to distract you. The higher you rise, the subtler the attacks become. When you were weak, the enemy tried to break your spirit. Now that you are strong, he will try to break your focus. The greatest danger after elevation is not failure, it's comfort. The very peace you prayed for can lull you into passivity if you forget the purpose behind it. The book of Mark tells of a storm that rose after Jesus had performed miracles and spoken parables. The disciples, weary from ministry, entered a boat to cross to the other side. While they sailed, a violent windstorm struck, waves crashing over the deck. Panic filled them, but Jesus slept through it. They woke him, shouting, "Don't you care if we drown?" He stood, rebuked the wind, and the sea grew still. As recorded in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4, verse 39, he got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. End 4. This story holds a powerful truth. The presence of storms doesn't mean the absence of God. Sometimes, the storm is the classroom where peace is perfected. Jesus didn't panic because he knew authority doesn't vanish in chaos. It's revealed through it. Chosen one. This is where you are now. You've crossed into new territory. But heaven allows storms to ensure your foundation is secure. The wind will test whether you rely on noise or on presence. It will ask, do you still trust the one who got you here? When you stepped into this new level of purpose, you also entered a new level of visibility. That means new resistance. But remember, storms don't sink vessels that carry divine assignments. They only strengthen the sailors who refuse to abandon ship. There's a story of a woman named Kayla who, after finding success in her calling, suddenly felt surrounded by criticism, betrayal, and confusion. She couldn't understand why victory felt so heavy. Then, during prayer, she sensed the words, "You are not under attack, you are under refinement." She realized the storm wasn't sent to destroy her platform, it was sent to deepen her dependence. Once she stopped fighting the waves and started trusting the captain, peace returned. You must learn what Kayla learned, that storms after blessings are tests of stewardship. Heaven is watching how you handle the abundance it entrusted to you. Will you protect it with prayer, or let distraction dilute it? The higher you climb, the more you must lean on humility. Wind doesn't topple trees with deep roots. Stay anchored in the same faith that sustained you in obscurity. Don't let applause replace intimacy. Don't let progress replace prayer. Think of a torch carried through heavy wind. The fire doesn't survive by resisting the air. It survives by burning hotter within. That's how you guard your light in seasons of pressure. You don't fight every gust. You focus on the flame. Storms also reveal who belongs with you. Not everyone who celebrated your rise can endure your shaking. Some will drift when waves rise, not because they hate you, but because their assignment with you has ended. Let them go with grace. Divine pruning isn't reaction, it's preservation. Heaven never wastes storms. Each one strengthens your discernment, expands your endurance, and refines your response. You'll notice that after every shaking, your peace grows, quieter but stronger. You'll speak less but carry more weight. Authority doesn't shout, it stands still and watches waves obey. The enemy's goal is to make you fear losing what you've gained. But fear is powerless in surrendered hands. The same God who gave you victory is not suddenly absent during testing. His silence isn't withdrawal, it's trust. He's proving that what he placed in you can now stand on its own. So, when the winds rise, remember who spoke peace before. The one who calmed seas with words now dwells within you. His authority flows through your breath. Speak to your own storm, not in panic, but in power, for every chosen one. Storms are not the end of a story. They are the punctuation between chapters. When the waters settle, you will stand stronger, surer, steadier. The fire within you will burn brighter, purified by pressure. You've been through enough to know this truth now. Storms come to confirm what heaven already crowned. When the winds calm and the dust settles, a new stillness follows, a kind that feels almost holy. You can sense it in your chest. That quiet certainty that you've crossed into a different place within yourself. You are no longer the same person who began this journey. The storms have refined you, not ruined you. What was once fragile has become fortified. Heaven has done more than deliver you. It has transformed you. Standing on the other side of struggle, you realize something extraordinary. You have become evidence. Your life now preaches without needing many words. When people look at you, they will see what grace looks like in motion. This is what it means to stand as heaven's representative on earth, not to be perfect, but to be proven. It is written in the letter to the Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. That light is not borrowed, it's yours now. Heaven placed it within you so others could find their way through your glow. It's not about spotlight, it's about reflection. The one who guided you through the storm now shines through your endurance. Every scar has become a window for light to pass through. Chosen one. This is your new calling, to stand, shine, and share. When you rise, you help others rise. When you speak hope, you remind others that heaven is still near. You are no longer a seeker of miracles, you are a carrier of them. And because of that, what you do next matters. The words you share, the kindness you give, the courage you display, these become your ministry. Every small act of light extends the reach of heaven on earth. So as you listen, let this next invitation not feel like instruction but like inspiration. When you like this message, imagine it as lighting another candle from your own flame. The warmth doesn't lessen in you, it multiplies around you. Somewhere, someone sits in a dark room of doubt, and your single spark might be the sign they prayed for. When you share this message, see it as passing forward, a lantern in a storm. You are not promoting words, you are delivering warmth. You are saying to the weary, here, take a little light. I've walked this path before. When you comment, treat it like leaving your own mark on the wall of light. Each word you write, simple, sincere, becomes a beam added to this collective glow. Somewhere, another soul, scrolling in silence, will see your words and feel seen too. Even a few heartfelt letters can become healing. When you subscribe, it's like returning to a garden that keeps blooming. Each visit nourishes what heaven is growing in you. The messages that come are not interruptions. They are rain on the soil of your faith. Reminders that your spirit is still alive and evolving. And if you feel stirred to give, to donate, to pour oil into this continuing flame, see it as sowing light, not duty, not transaction, but beauty. Every drop you release becomes fuel for more souls to find warmth, peace, and truth. The gift you give today may become tomorrow's miracle in someone else's life. There's a story of a woman named Rima who listened to messages like this during her loneliest nights. One evening, feeling moved, she gave a small offering, barely enough to be noticed. But, she said, it felt like placing a pebble in a river. Months later, she received a letter from a friend who had discovered those same words at a breaking point and said they saved her life. That moment taught Rima that what leaves your hand in love never leaves your life. It travels, heals, and returns, multiplied. So if your heart feels peace right now, let it guide you, not as obligation, but as participation. You are part of something far larger than yourself, a living current of light flowing across the world. Each act of support, whether a like, a share, a comment, a subscription, or a donation, is not for recognition, but for resonance. Think of this message as a river, and every gesture as another ripple. Some ripples are small, others wide, but all move in the same direction toward hope. The more you release, the further the current reaches. And when you do, remember, this is how heaven works through willing hearts, not pressured ones, through gentle giving, not forced sacrifice. Every gesture born of love becomes eternal. Your light, your faith, your choice, they are all part of heaven's great story being written through you. And as long as you keep shining, the world will keep finding its way home. Every chosen one eventually learns that destiny is not a straight path, it's a circle. Heaven's assignments move in divine cycles, where endings are never truly endings but beginnings disguised. The same hand that lifted you from the ashes now places you as a light for others still in the fire. This is the circle of divine assignment, the rhythm where obedience reproduces obedience. And one awakened heart awakens another. You have walked through silence, warfare, revelation, and breakthrough. Now heaven asks something deeper, to become the bridge. The miracle that once rescued you was never meant to stop with you. Every answered prayer carries within it a seed for someone else's freedom. That's how heaven builds legacies, not through monuments, but through multiplied obedience. It is written in the letter to the Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion in Christ. That promise is not linear, it loops. The good work begun in you continues through you, then through those you touch, expanding like rings in water. The grace that once reached you now flows outward, finding new hearts ready to awaken. There's a story told about two men, one old, one young. The elder had spent his life guiding others, yet he often felt forgotten. One day, the younger man he once mentored returned. Now, successful and wise, the older man said quietly, "You no longer need me." But the younger smiled and replied, "You never taught me to need you. You taught me to become you." The circle was complete. That is how heaven measures legacy, not by how many follow you, but by how many become who they were called to be because of you. The true sign of impact is replication, not recognition. Chosen one, your obedience has already awakened others without you realizing it. Someone watched you endure quietly and found courage. Someone heard your story and believed again. You may never know their names, but heaven does. Every act of faith, every moment you chose integrity over ease, became a spark in someone else's spirit. The circle of divine assignment is delicate and endless. It works in layers. Heaven inspires you. You obey. Your obedience inspires another, and the chain continues. It's the divine echo of purpose moving through generations. Think of it like a single flame passed from candle to candle. The first flame never diminishes, it multiplies. Soon, an entire room glows. Not because one candle burned brighter, but because many chose to burn together. That's how heaven transforms the world, through shared light. Your circle may begin with one person, a friend, a child, a stranger whose name you barely remember. Sometimes, you will plant seeds that bloom long after you're gone. Other times, you'll see the harvest right before your eyes. Either way, the work continues. But understand this, the circle also returns blessings to the giver. What you pour out eventually flows back. Encouragement given in scarcity becomes strength in your next season. Compassion released in weakness becomes comfort when you need it most. Heaven's economy never wastes generosity. There's a woman named Leah who once volunteered at a shelter. Though she herself was struggling financially, she offered what little she had time. Prayer, kindness. Years later, after losing her home, she moved into a new community. The very organization she once served was now the one that helped her rebuild her life. She said through tears, "It came back full circle." That's what heaven does. It loops blessings until nothing is lost. You might not see the full arc yet, but trust that your obedience is still traveling. The words you speak today may become someone's lifeline months from now. The hope you extend now may return as healing later. The circle keeps turning because heaven keeps moving. The beautiful thing about this divine design is that you don't have to manage it. You simply stay available. Heaven handles the reach. You remain the vessel. God remains the source. The more you give your yes, the wider the circle expands. So keep walking, keep shining, keep becoming. One day, someone will stand where you stand now and say, "Because they didn't quit, I kept going." That's legacy. That's multiplication. That's the circle complete. And when the final loop closes, when all the chosen ones find their place in the chain of divine purpose, heaven will look upon it and whisper, "It is finished." End point. And the circle will keep turning faith to faith, light to light, until every soul remembers where it truly came from. Heaven. There is a point in every divine story where everything begins to make sense. The waiting, the tears, the silence, the sudden breakthroughs. You look back, and for the first time, you see the pattern. It wasn't random. Every season, every lesson, every connection formed part of a masterpiece only heaven could design. This is the moment of revelation. When the chosen one finally understands, you were never just chosen to be rescued, you were chosen to become a rescuer. You have walked the full circle called refined, equipped, and now crowned. Heaven doesn't crown those who have avoided the valley. It crowns those who walked through it and came out carrying light for others. You are both the receiver and the sender, both the miracle and the messenger. The journey that once seemed endless now becomes your testimony, a living map for those who will follow. It is written in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing. This passage is not just about the end of life, it's about the completion of assignment. The crown is not made of gold, it's made of fulfillment. It's the quiet joy of knowing you did what heaven asked, that your obedience became someone else's answered prayer. Chosen one, you have earned this moment not by perfection, but by persistence. The faith that carried you through darkness now shines like armor. Heaven smiles upon those who refuse to give up when everything in them wanted to. The journey has changed you from seeker to shepherd, from follower to forerunner. You carry the authority of endurance. Every scar, every lesson, every moment of surrender has become part of your crown. The weight of it doesn't crush you, it stabilizes you. Crowns are not meant for display, they're meant for balance. They remind the wearer to walk upright, to hold their head high, to remember who sent them. There's a story of a young woman named Anira who, after years of loss, began teaching children in her village about hope. She had little money and few resources, but she carried peace wherever she went. One day, a child asked, "How do you smile so much after losing so much?" She replied, "Because now I understand I didn't lose. I was prepared." That is the language of the crowned. They no longer measure life by what they've endured, but by what they've become. When heaven crowns you, it also commissions you. The authority you now carry is not to dominate, but to deliver. You have been entrusted with influence, whether in your words, your work, or your quiet presence. The world is desperate for authentic light, and you, chosen one, have become that lamp. Crowns are not heavy for those who remember humility. True royalty is found in service. You will find joy in helping others rise, peace in teaching others what took you years to learn. The more you give from this place of abundance, the brighter your crown will gleam, not in visible glory, but in invisible grace. You will soon notice the world differently. What once felt like obstacles will appear as opportunities to reveal the strength you've gained. People will come to you, not for miracles, but for the wisdom born from surviving them. You won't need to prove anything anymore. Your presence will speak. And even as new challenges arise, they will no longer shake you the same way. You've already faced storms and stood still. You know the rhythm of heaven, now the peace before the breakthrough, the silence before the sound, the tension before the testimony. You've learned the sacred art of trust. The journey doesn't end here, it expands. Crowns are not finish lines, they are beginnings in disguise. From here, your assignment will ripple outward. Every act of compassion, every word of encouragement, every step in faith will carry the vibration of heaven's victory. You are both the message and the messenger, chosen not just for this hour, but for the generations that follow. And as you stand crowned for the final hour, remember this truth: your destiny was never about reaching a throne, it was about becoming one. You are now a living altar of light, a vessel of divine presence, a bridge between heaven and earth. The glory that once hovered above you now flows through you. Walk forward, crowned and complete. The circle has closed. The chosen has become the carrier, the messenger, the mirror, and somewhere, even now, another soul is awakening because your light reached them just as heaven planned all along. And now, the story comes full circle. You have walked through fire and found gold in the ashes. You have waited, warred, obeyed, and risen. Heaven's words have met you where you were and lifted you to where you were always meant to be. But this is not the end. It is the continuation of something sacred flowing through you. As this message closes, take a breath. Feel the peace that lingers, the gentle hum of recognition within your spirit. That quiet sense you feel right now, that is heaven saying, you are ready. Ready not just to carry light, but to share it. Ready not just to receive truth, but to release it. When you like this message, imagine it as a spark leaping from your flame to another. Somewhere, someone's night feels endless, and your small act might be the first glimmer they see. When you share, see it as extending your hand into the dark, offering guidance to someone you may never meet. Every share is like planting a lantern along a path. Others will walk after you. When you comment, think of it as carving your testimony into the wall of time. Your words, simple or small, become proof that faith is still alive in this world. When you subscribe, you are choosing to remain part of this current of light. Each message that flows next will meet you like a familiar breeze, soft, steady, and full of life. And if your heart feels moved to give, see your donation as adding one more log to a living fire. The flame already burns. Your offering simply helps it reach further, warming hearts that haven't yet found their way home. No pressure, no demand, just invitation. The kind that feels like love, not duty. Because light, when given freely, always returns, multiplied. So let this be your moment of reflection, of gratitude, of decision. The light has found you now. Let it travel through you. Together, we keep the fire alive.